What is going on, everybody? It's the France, and we're here for a Monday Night Raw review for March 9th, 2020, the day after the Elimination Chamber, or as we know, the Waste of Time Chamber pay-per-view. This is the final stop before Wrestlemania is out of the way. We are on the full final leg to Wrestlemania. We have 27 days to go before we get to the Showcase of the Immortals, the show of shows, the granddaddy of them all, the grandest stage of them all. And other than Edge versus Randy Orton, which is very, very good storytelling, and Drew McIntyre versus Brock Lesnar, I don't care about the Monday Night Raw side of WrestleMania. SmackDown has one match right now, so can't really say anything about that. And of course, NXT has the one and only match it's going to get. So, yes, and Becky Lynch versus Shayna Baszler. I want to be more excited about it, but I just can't find myself to be excited about this match. Becky's coolness, cool factor has worn off. And it's just, I don't know. Last night at the Elimination Chamber, yes, that's how they should have booked Shayna Baszler from the start. That's the first match Shayna Baszler should have had on the main roster. No matter what you want to say, outside of course, the two matches she had, or the match she had at Survivor Series or the Royal Rumble, but on Raw or SmackDown, that should have been her very first match. And did it go the way we wanted it to go? No, it was a match that was unnecessary and wasn't needed. She should have won the Royal Rumble, but that is a different argument for a different time. Becky Lynch comes to the ring. Shayna Baszler was nowhere to be seen tonight, which is odd that you would have Becky Lynch come out tonight but not see Shayna Baszler anywhere. She grabs the mic and says, the time for joking is over, and she finally knows who her opponent is. Oh, so you decided you wanted to be a joke last week. You were joking last week when you came out with those shitty-looking glasses on, wearing King's Crown and trying to be a Conor McGregor knockoff. That was all you just joking around. Now you're going to be super serious, Becky Lynch, because you know you got to face a cage fighter. She knows who her opponent is, the cage fighter. Please, please, please do not tell me that is Shayna Baszler's nickname now. The cage fighter. She is the queen of spades. She does her fingers in that spade, in that spade symbol. That is her thing. She is the queen of spades. She shows us what happened last night from the Elimination Chamber. I still say Liv Morgan should have came in, and then Shayna Baszler came in to kill everybody. Or hell, Shayna Baszler could have been last and came in and killed everybody. Baszler says she's taking the title, and there's not a damn thing Lynch can do about it because they did show what she said after the show. Lynch recognizes Baszler's cut through everyone in last night's match, even Asuka, who took Lynch her entire career to beat. Really now? Okay. Lynch calls Baszler a black hole of charisma, and I may be a bitch, but I am the bitch who runs this division. She recalls Baszler not shaking her hand after last year's WrestleMania and says Baszler is the biggest threat to come her way since she pried the title off her friend Ronda Rousey. Lynch then goes on and says Baszler has been hiding in the shadows looking to rewrite history, believes Baszler is trying to discount Lynch and she's going to smash Baszler's face in, throwing down the mic and leaving. This was probably the best promo Becky Lynch has cut since all year. She has just sounded so cheesy, so generic, like she wasn't taking anything seriously. But now that she's going up against Shayna Baszler, she seems like the seriousness that she had going into last year's WrestleMania has finally come back to Becky Lynch, and this is the Becky Lynch we knew and wanted to see. So, Angel Garza versus Rey Mysterio. You know, I'm a pizza guy. I love myself some pizza, and I enjoy having a slice or a whole pizza pie every once in a while. But if I had pizza every single day of my life, I would get sick of it. And this is how I'm feeling about the four men, Angel Garza, Rey Mysterio, Humberto Carrillo, and Andrade. These four men are intertwined within each other over the last 4 or 5 months. Yes, Angel Garza just got put into this. This is Rey Mysterio versus Angel Garza. Something we saw 2 or 3 weeks ago, and we have to see it again. After this match is over, which, by the way, Angel Garza is over more than almost anybody else on this main roster outside of a Drew McIntyre a Drew McIntyre, The Undertaker, or any of those people. So him being on Monday Night Raw, I think, is going to be a permanent thing. There's no reason to put him back down in NXT. It's like, oh, he was only up here because Andrade was out. You brought him up, keep him up. His time in NXT is over with. This was a good match. It is because it's Angel Garza and Rey Mysterio, but I don't need to see it anymore. Unfortunately, WrestleMania is coming around the corner. It'll be here in 27 days. And I have a feeling we're going to see Garza versus Humberto Carrillo versus Rey Mysterio versus Andrade in a fatal four-way, some kind of stipulation match for the United States Championship. After WrestleMania is over, I better be seeing U.S. Champion, whoever it is, going up against the likes of Cedric Alexander, Aleister Black, Buddy Murphy, Kevin Owens. Anybody who's not going for the World Heavyweight Championship better be going after the United States Champion. I don't want to see Rey versus Garza versus Humberto versus Andrade. Any of those combinations, those four, anymore coming out of WrestleMania or any more after this match. Mysterio looks, and I have to say this, it looks like WWE finally got the message for Zelina Vega. I've noticed in the last 3 matches, which was last Monday, last night, and tonight, she has hardly gotten involved. And that's actually been better for the matches. It's just been getting out of hand that they've just had her week in and week out do what she can to give her guy the win. Now in NXT, Zelina Vega hardly ever got involved in the matches Andrade was in. If she did, it meant something. But recently, she's been not getting involved as much. I mean, last Monday, she pulled Andrade out of the way outside and kept him from getting thrown into the barricade or something, or knocked into the barricade, which was the way she should be used. But other than that, Zelina Vega has been pulled back a little bit on helping or interfering in matches, which is a great thing for them to do. He goes for the 619, Garza ducks and pops him with the super kick. The two end up on the top turnbuckle. Mysterio fights Garza off, looks for a Canadian Destroyer or the Panama Sunrise out of the corner, but no, sets him up for a 619 and hits it. Up for the springboard crossbody, 1, 2, 3. Mysterio slipped a bit on the landing, as you can see. He goes up, and instead of bouncing off or slamming, you could just see his left foot just slipped off the rope. 1, 2, 3, he wins. That is that. Please tell me this is the last time, but it's probably not going to be the last time we see Angel Garza versus Rey Mysterio as we are going into WrestleMania. I guess there's no reason to stop this entire feud between these four guys until we get to WrestleMania. We see that earlier in the day, Kevin Owens strolls to the building for tonight's show, and the AOP and Murphy and Seth Rollins are there, and Rollins is eating popcorn and chuckling. He offers Owens some popcorn. Owens is like, no, I'm good, grabs a suitcase and throws it into one of the members of the AOP, and then they all start brawling, and they beat the fuck out of him and sending him into a tray holder, one of those things that you see like McDonald's or something that has a restaurant where they have this metal rack that you put trays on for food and stuff. Threw him into that. Threw him into what looked like a pet cage, not Eric Rowan's pet cage. We'll talk about that later. But then he ends up getting stomped. AOP then sent him into a metal case. Murphy throws them down, more equipment on him, and officials show up and to get them away from Owens. So Kevin Owens has been put out of commission for tonight. I'm going to say this short, sweet. WWE had Seth Rollins last week on Raw. Challenged Kevin Owens to a match anytime, any place, anywhere, any stipulation. Why wasn't that addressed this week? Why did we have to have Kevin Owens get beat up at the beginning of the show? You could have had Kevin Owens come out, cut a promo, then when he gets to the back, then they beat him up. But no. There was no mention, even on commentary, that last week Seth Rollins challenged Kevin Owens to a match, anytime, any place, anywhere, any stipulation. Was that me or was that crazy? I could have swore I heard that from Seth Rollins last week. What the fuck's going on with that? Next week is going to be 3/16 Day because it's March 16th. Whoop-de-doo. So Stone Cold Steve Austin will be on Monday Night Raw next week. I mentioned this and talked about this on my podcast this past week, talking about WWE's nostalgia problem and the fact that they're going for a ratings grab for things like this, the NWO, and anybody else that they can pull out of their back pocket. And the problem WWE is going to face in the next 10 plus years when it comes to stars of today who are on the way out because they're getting a little bit older, who aren't as big as a Stone Cold or a John Cena. What are you going to do when a guy like Seth Rollins or Roman Reigns calls it a career and you want to call them up and they're not as over as you want them to be? We see the video package from NXT Women's Champion Rhea Ripley as she was at Raymond James Stadium, which they showed on NXT last week. He checks out Raymond James Stadium, which is also a nice little tiny plug to the Tampa Bay Vipers, who play at home in Raymond James Stadium, and the Vipers colors was all over the stadium. She, of course, would defend the title. She noticed she came to NXT. Everybody said she looked like Charlotte or a mini Charlotte. Which, yes, in the first Mae Young Classic, I might have said it, and I know other people did. She looked like Charlotte 2.0. She acted like Charlotte 2.0. Rhea Ripley, that you saw back in 2017, was nowhere close to the same Rhea Ripley that you see today. She looked and sounded and just acted and wrestled like a mini Charlotte. And talk about 3 years later, how much different Rhea Ripley looks now than she did back then. You wanted to make sure everyone showed who she really was. Then out comes the queen of Vince McMahon's world, Charlotte Flair. She strolls to the ring. She's not in her ring gear. She's in a dress, a mini dress. He takes the mic and tells the crowd to meet Rhea Ripley, the next big thing, the new shiny toy. Oh, don't want to hear that one. The new shiny toy. When we hear something about a new shiny toy in Vince McMahon's toy box, when that toy no longer shines, and it's got a little bit of dust on it, Vince throws it away and pulls a new shiny toy out of the NXT box and goes, oh, and I do have some toys right here beside me right now because of other reasons. But he's like, oh, this one's shiny. Let me play with this for now. That's each and every person who's on this show. Charlotte tells Ripley to enjoy the hype surrounding her because it will not last. I am challenging the NXT Women's Championship because I want to challenge for the title. So it's one thing to stand in an empty stadium and be in front of, and it's one thing to be in a stadium that's empty than it is to be in front of 90,000 people, only to be humbled by the Queen. Then Ripley comes out with a smile on her face. She says, "This is not NXT. I'm sorry." Charlotte says, "This is not NXT. This is Monday Night Raw. This is my kingdom. You are excused." Ripley then just takes her fist, balls it up, punches Charlotte right in the face, and Charlotte with a shocked look on her face, and Ripley watches her as she's backing up the stage with a smile on her face. So Ripley got a good one on her. Now, it's funny because the way Charlotte cut this promo tonight, it made it sound like she didn't have to win the Rumble and could have cut the same exact fucking promo why she was challenging for the NXT Women's Championship and why Rhea Ripley would accept her challenging for the NXT Women's Championship. It's still, each and every fucking show that Charlotte's on, they show that Charlotte Flair did not need to win the Women's Royal Rumble. That should have been Shayna Baszler. Then we would have had SmackDown's Women's Championship title match decided at WrestleMania, which is apparently going to be a six-pack challenge now. Speaking of SmackDown, two people are going to be making their return as Paige for the first time since she was booted from the general manager position. I'm sorry, that's wrong. For the first time since Asuka and Kairi Sane dropped her as the manager of them when they won the women's tag team titles. She'll be on there to confront Bayley. What they're going to do with her, I don't know. Apparently she had emergency surgery a couple days ago. Maybe she's going to be able to make her return. I mean, Edge had another surgery. Maybe she talked to Edge, and Edge recommended the surgery that she had. And maybe that's going to make her so she can actually wrestle. I don't know. And for the first time since his leg injury and they had to relinquish the SmackDown Live tag team titles at the time, Jeff Hardy was making his return as well. What is this going to mean for Jeff? Will he be in a prominent role at WrestleMania? I have no idea. Maybe he'll be in an Intercontinental title triple 6-man tag match, a 6-man ladder match. I don't know. We'll find out on Friday. I'm actually intrigued to see what they do with Jeff since Matt's no longer here, and Jeff's going to be on his own. This is the first time actually in his WWE career that Jeff Hardy has been in the WWE by himself without Matt Hardy. Usually Jeff's the one who's gone and Matt takes over and becomes the only Hardy in WWE. This is the first time Jeff's been in WWE by himself. Backstage, Randy Orton stands all creepy as he waits for Edge's arrival. He's in the bowels of the arena again. AJ Styles will be on backstage, so yada 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 to that, and then we have Bobby Lashley come out, and I'm wondering who's he going to kill this time, and it turns out to be Zack Ryder. Lana's not here because she's off filming a movie. We actually got a "We Want Lana" chant. Washington, D.C., home where AEW had their very first TV show in October. Why would you want that woman back on your television? What the fuck is wrong with you? But this was an easy win for Lashley. He hits a really fucked up looking Dominator onto Zack Ryder. Zack Ryder did nothing in this match. Who cares? Back in the dark room, Aleister Black goes and wants to talk, but you hear immediately. Rollins and Murphy show up. He wants him to join the group. Murphy tosses him a shirt. Black's like, perhaps not. Tosses the shirt back to Murphy. Rollins says, you either are with me or against me. Black responds and says, you know what? Those sound like fighting words. And since Rollins did knock on the right door, he wants, I accept. Rollins and Black stare each other down for a moment, and Rollins exit. That is supposed to be your main event, but we'll talk about that in a minute. Drew McIntyre versus Eric Rowan. Rowan comes down with his cage fake tarantula. It was robotic. I was watching reactions online of people who watched this for the first time, and then there was one guy, I'm not going to call him out, but he's a normal YouTube regular, who had this big freaking reaction of like, oh my god, it's so scary. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? It's obviously an animatronic. Obviously. So I sat there and I just thought it was funny that this guy just freaked the hell out for a fake, phony fighter. Well, Drew McIntyre comes down. The two end up on the floor. Drew McIntyre levels Rowan. He then goes over to the cage, puts it in the middle of the floor between, near the ramp, grabs the ring steps, takes it above the cage, and just slams the steps onto the cage, smashing it. Obviously, WWE decided that the cage the reveal was a very, very bad idea. It was a very big letdown, and we needed to get rid of it ASAP. So they had Drew McIntyre destroy the cage. So that was a waste of time. Absolute waste of time. Enraged Rowan is, he heads over, he eats a headbutt. Back in the ring, Drew hits this future shock DDT, kips up the crowd with the 3, 2, 1 Claymore kick. 1, 2, 3. Drew McIntyre wins. Post-match, Drew goes outside, wipes his feet to the destroyed cage, and Rowan looks sad. Not heartbroken or anything, he just looks mildly sad. And that's Eric Rowan's career. Eric Rowan's career for you in WWE. Mildly sad. We get a video package recapping Beth Phoenix and Randy Orton's confrontation last week. WWE where he would call his history with Edge. Orton eventually put the blame on Beth. She would slap Orton, kick him in the stomach, and then he would receive an RKO from him. Talk about a random tag team match as we go on here on Monday Night Raw. The women's tag team champions Asuka and Kairi Sane versus Natalya and Liv Morgan. Why was this match happening? What did these two have to do with anything? Why are we getting these two against the tag team champions? So Sane and Asuka come out. They scream in Japanese a bit. They did talk a little bit in English, and then they screamed a little bit more. Out came Natalya. Out came Liv Morgan. And they had a match here. Ruby Riott makes her way out to the ring. Pretty much this is what happened in this match. Nothing. Ruby Riott comes down. Nothing else happens really much. Then Sarah Logan comes down. Nothing else really much happens in this match. Then, all of a sudden, they start brawling. Liv Morgan, who's in a match on the apron waiting to be tagged in, decides, well, you know what? Fuck Natalya. Fuck the women's tag team champions because, you know, if we happen to beat them, we could get a tag team title match at WrestleMania. No, fuck them. I'm going to dive on top of Liv Morgan, on Ruby Riott, and Sarah Logan, and take everybody else. So Natalya is on her own and gets beat with a kick to the head after she got the sharpshooter on Sane. Asuka sneaks in, kick to the head, 1, 2, 3. That's that. What was the fucking point of this match? Just a bunch of bullshit, and all it was. AJ Styles hits his ring with Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, takes the mic, and there's a crowd chant, Undertaker. Styles said it's not been once, but twice the Undertaker stuck his nose where it doesn't belong, showing what happened at last night's Elimination Chamber. The OC nearly had Aleister Black beat when Taker showed up and took out the whole group, giving Black a window to pick up the victory. He was caused when Roman beat the Undertaker, and then Taker folded his jacket and put his jacket in the ring, all nice and neat, then put his fist up, put his fist up, riding off into the sunset. Styles thought Taker should have retired after losing to Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. I agree. Ultimately, it doesn't matter. Styles says he wants Taker at WrestleMania. Maybe 15 years ago, I would have been hesitating calling out Undertaker, but I don't see a Fiend anymore. I see a broken down old man named Mark Calloway. 10 years ago, I would have been like, what? The only time Mark Calloway has been named in WWE under his shoot name was back during the invasion era, the invasion angle, when Sarah was brought in because of DDP. They had an interview, I believe it was with JR, with her and the Undertaker, and she actually called him by his name, Mark. And I think that's the only time. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's the only time Mark Calloway's name has been named on TV. AJ says he doesn't know what brings Taker back. He should have retired years ago. Then relieves it's Michelle, his wife, Michelle McCool. Here's a spoiler alert, everyone. The Undertaker and Michelle are married. AJ Styles, guess what? Everybody who was in that arena tonight probably realized and knew that Undertaker and Michelle McCool have been married for about 5 or so years. Maybe 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. She's the reason he keeps coming back. Anything she wants, she gets, even if it means Taker coming back to the ring and getting hurt. Styles says McCool is the most conniving person he's ever met. Says he's going to make sure the Undertaker dies in that ring at WrestleMania. I'm going to take the Undertaker's soul at WrestleMania. Calls him a broken down old man again and says to accept his challenge. Well, you know how the Undertaker accepts his challenge? Oh, he doesn't say anything. We don't have a lights go down, lights come up, and him on a Titantron or anything. We have the Undertaker and him in a contract signing next week. I still want an explanation of why the Undertaker, out of all this thing, chose AJ Styles. Why did he choose AJ Styles? Gotta keep liquids up, man. My mouth just did. Terry Caruso approaches Randy Orton to get his thoughts on Edge returning. He stares off into a slight grin on his face and doesn't say a thing. She says okay and heads off. Riddick Moss versus Jobber number 63, Cedric Alexander. Remember when Cedric Alexander was having badass matches on 205 Live for the Cruiserweight Championship? Remember when Cedric Alexander actually had meaning in WWE? I remember. Pepperidge Farm remembers. Do you remember? This was another squash match. Apparently the 24/7 championship is no longer a 24/7 championship. It's doing regular matches. We haven't seen, which I'm fine with. I'm fine. I don't need to see the 24/7 carousel anymore. So he beats Cedric Alexander in a very one-sided match. Then we go to break. We come back, and MVP is in the ring. halfway through a speech of he's making fun of the crowd, he's talking shit on the crowd, and then he says he's transitioning from an in-ring competitor to an absolute brainiac. That he's going to build his stable around a man like Edge. He could lead Edge back to becoming a champion again. He just has a problem, and that's him with his focus. With me by his side, he'll be that champion he was years ago. Then we see Edge drive in, very, very pissed off. He's walking straight to the ring. MVP says they're going to make a bunch of money and has a great proposition for him. Edge gets in the ring, rips the mic out of his hand. He yells to Orton, grab a set and get to the ring right now. Gives the mic back to Edge. MVP is like, hey man, that's the problem. You're focusing on the wrong thing. And what's wrong with... And he's off mentally. And focusing on that, he then asks Edge, how's your wife? Edge with a big spear on MVP. From behind comes Randy Orton, but Edge with a huge RKO onto Randy Orton. Crowd with a huge pop for that. I didn't see that coming. I thought it was just going to be an RKO back to Edge. Edge grabs a chair, heads back in the ring. He decides to get a second chair to take on Orton, but Orton's like, screw this, and gets out of the ring. MVP is looking for a punch, but Edge locks in a standing triangle on MVP as he stares at Orton. Edge puts a chair in the middle of the ring, gives an RKO to MVP on the chair, looks at Orton, grabs a second chair to whack MVP over the head, hits the concerto, and then the crowd does the same shit they do every single time. This is why we can't have nice things. This is why wrestling is ruined half the time. They chant, one more time. Now, I'm not saying Edge hitting another concerto onto MVP is a bad thing. It was necessary to, just keep the severity of the match, the severity of the situation going. But it would have been a lot better if you didn't have the crowd chanting, one more time, one more time, one more time. Just like last week when Randy Orton, the heel in this stand, hit an RKO, and not everybody, but there were fans chanting one more time. Like, oh my god, no. Just like the dreaded what chant, one more time needs to die. It's overused. We don't need to see a concerto one more time because you're bloodthirsty and want to see somebody possibly be killed. No. Just no. And we go to what was supposed to be our main event, Aleister Black versus AJ Styles with Murphy. Now, I'm sorry, not AJ Styles, Seth Rollins, not AJ Styles. Why did I think AJ Styles? Because he fought AJ Styles last week and yesterday. Now, you're looking at your clock and it's 10:20 when this match starts. There is no fucking way these guys, which I would not mind seeing, Aleister Black and Seth Rollins in a 40-minute classic. I could see it. I could see them doing 40 minutes between these two. But this is WWE. We're not going to have that. Oh, hell no, we're not going to do that. So they're having a match. Black goes with a snap German suplex with a brace, but Murphy jumps in. He swings away on Black for the disqualification. Black is getting beat down by two men, Seth Rollins and Buddy Murphy. He brings out the AOP. They come out. Out come the Viking Raiders to try and help out, but they get beat up. Out come the tag team champions, the Street Profits. They swing away on Rollins. The group then clears them out. Aleister Black just disappears completely. I don't know where the hell he went to. Ford gets on the mic and calls for what else but an 8-man tag team match. Player, holla, holla, holla. I would have been fine seeing AJ. I keep on saying AJ because it's whatever. Seth Rollins and Aleister Black for 40 minutes. I would have taken that any day of the fucking week. But an 8-man tag team match for 30 minutes or 25 minutes. Oh, I'm so tired of this. WWE just same old shit over and over and over again. You give us a match that some people would have probably said, wow, that's a great goddamn match on paper. You give them 5 minutes, cause a DQ, have everybody and their brother come out, and then, boom, that is that. We have an 8-man tag match. So you had Seth Rollins and his disciples versus Street Profits and the Viking Raiders. Again, Aleister Black just disappeared. Not much to the match. It was meaningless as it is. It came down to Murphy takes a kick to the head with Ford, Aiken with the spine buster, Dawkins drops him with the spear. And of course, when you have an 8-man tag team match, what happens? Everybody at the end has to hit their big moves. Ford with his massive frog splash cover, and Murphy breaks it up. Dawkins sends Murphy to the floor. Viking Raiders win Stereo's suicide dive to clear out Team Rollins, which was AOP and Murphy on holding him. Ford and Rollins in the ring. Rollins with a kick to the head is kicked out of the floor. Ford with a big flip out into the floor, taking it pretty much everyone except for the legal man. Ford gets in the ring and Rollins lands a stomp. 1, 2, 3. Seth Rollins is in AOP and Murphy are your winners. Post-match, Kevin Owens just appears out of nowhere, pulls Rollins out of the ring. They start fighting. AOP gets up, throw him in the ring, but he stuns Akam, throws Razor out of the ring. Stuns Murphy. Rollins hits one stomp, then hits another stomp. Then, as it looks like we're about to fade to black, he holds out his hand just like, stop, I got this. Pulls Kevin Owens up one more time, another stomp, and the show goes off the air. The show, this was not the worst Raw I've seen in a while. This is not a bad Raw, it just was boring as fuck Raw. Raw just, I don't know. They have so much they could do for Monday Night Raw, but they just... It's like, I don't know, they go into this... It would not surprise me if it comes out tomorrow that Monday Night Raw was rewritten at the last minute. Oh, by the way, anybody who thinks Ricochet was not being buried and Ricochet is just going to be fine... Ricochet faced Eric Young on main event tonight in the pre-taped main event show. Tell me you still think that Ricochet is over or Ricochet is not buried because you're full of shit. But that is your Monday Night Raw review for March 9th, 2020. I will be back here tomorrow for some XFL review of what was the best week in the XFL so far. And I feel like we're just getting started on good XFL football. Until then, my name is France, and I'll see you guys later. Hit that subscribe button, comment down below.